All right, as we continue our look at Call of the Wild, we are looking at Buck, who is rushing at the man with the red sweater. And the man with the red sweater represents greed and evil too. And Buck is now being called, "You red-eyed devil," he said, when he had made an opening sufficient for the passage of Buck's body. At the same time, he dropped the hatchet and shifted the club to his right hand. Okay, what I find interesting is this man is so intent on subduing Buck's behavior that he's willing, literally, we can see with the club, we can infer he's going to beat him into submission. And he's calling him a red-eyed devil, when in reality, we can look at this and say, well, that's not the way to get respect or obedience. Maybe in the immediate time, right? But the long-term respect of being mistreated, you don't get it, do you? So it's that idea of if you want something, you should be more kind in getting it. But again, that's not London's purpose. He is illuminating the fact that greed has overtaken any compassion for another human being or even the animals. And they don't care about the long-term benefit or health of the animals or people. They want the immediate obedience so that they can get what they want. And that is money. So that's really ironic that he calls him the red-eyed devil when in fact he, the man, is. And Buck was truly a red-eyed devil as he drew himself together for the spring, hair bristling, mouth foaming, a mad glitter, and again, here's the word, London's used it at least 3 times, bloodshot eyes. Straight at the man he launched by 140 pounds of furry, supercharged with the pent passion of 2 days and nights. So physically he has been deprived of water and food, and physically he is in pain, and he's outraged at his how his mistreatment has just increased. In midair, just as his jaws were about to close on the man, he received a shock that checked his body and brought his teeth together with an agonizing clip. He whirled over, fetching the ground on his back and side. He had never been struck by a club in his life, and he did not understand. With a snarl that was part bark and more scream, he was again on his feet and launched into the air. And again, the shock came. So this is twice now he's being hit by the club. And he was brought crushingly to the ground. This time, he was aware that it was the club. But his madness knew no caution. 12 times, 12 times, he charged, and as often the club broke the charge and smashed him down. And we can infer he is in serious pain now. And he's not going down easy. After a particularly fierce blow, he crawled to his feet, too dazed to rush. He staggered limply about, the blood flowing from nose and mouth and ears. His beautiful coat sprayed and flecked with a bloody slaver. Then the man advanced. Oh, this is just too much to even think about. And deliberately, cruelly, I'm going to put, savagely, dealt him a frightful blow on the nose. What imagery of this cruel man subduing this dog, an innocent dog, in order to get him to comply so that he can get his pay. Wow. And what I put over here in my notes up here, as you can see, I want you to mark in your margins. Man in the red sweater has the club and the hatchet, which equals power. Power. So it's greed and power. And that's exactly what we see, don't we? Okay. We'll stop here in just a minute. I want to finish this out real quick. So, a frightful blow on the nose. All the pain he had endured was as nothing compared with the exquisite agony of this. With a roar that was almost lion-like in its ferocity, he again hurled himself at the man. So we can see the desperation of Buck trying to keep his pride and his dignity. But the man is too much for him. But the man, shifting the club from right to left, coolly caught him by the under jaw, at the same time wrenching downward and backward. Buck described a complete circle in the air and half of another, then crashed to the ground on his head and chest. For the last time, I can't see that word. What do y'all have? He rushed? Yes. The man struck. So the last time the man struck the shrewd blow he had purposely withheld for so long, and Buck crumpled up and went down, knocked, utterly senseless. Buck's senses came back to him, but not his strength. He lay where he had fallen, and from there he watched the man in the red sweater. So we see this last-ditch effort, and look at the word choice that diction that London uses: a roar, lion-like, ferocity, again hurled. So it's a desperate attempt to survive and to still remain on top. So the theme in this book so far is greed, evil, man versus nature, and really probably the main one is the survival, the struggle for survival. And we see that very clearly here with Buck. And what I just can't believe when I look at this, how the man in the red sweater was so cool and detached, beating this dog senseless, and then withholding the final blow when the dog is at his weakest moment, and he knocks him and breaks him completely down physically. So we see him by laying down that he is broken physically, but what we want to find out, is he going to be broken in spirit? And this is a beautiful picture of how humanity treats other people oftentimes, where they will come at you and not back off until you give them whatever it is that they want. And so it's a beautiful picture, even though it's upsetting, about good and evil in humanity. And because London uses the dogs, our empathy goes out even more, because we know it's an innocent dog, and we can connect with that cruelty, can't we? And we're outraged, hopefully, that this man in this red sweater is, basically he's a demon.